Hello, sir. May I ask you a question about your New World Translation, please?
No, you may not. You can go onto the website, jw.org, and you'll see all the answers that you want to.
They won't ask there are questions I'm asking.
Well, I don't know the answers.
I haven't asked the question yet.
That's why I'm not answering.
But you want to be keen, you want to learn. That's how you learn.
I'd rather you went away, please.
I went away, but First Peter...
I'm not here to talk to you.
But you'll buy a cart, you'll buy a Jehovah's Witness cart. Surely you're here to answer...
I'm not here to answer your questions. You've had enough opportunity, you've had enough people, you've been asked by the police, you've been asked by park authorities not to be here. You are intimidating
I know.
me.
It's sad, isn't it? I'm more zealous than all the Jehovah's Witnesses in Plymouth put together.
I'm asking you to go away.
I'm more zealous than all the Jehovah's Witnesses in Plymouth put together. Isn't it great that we have the truth of Jehovah's Word, the Bible, and can't we discuss it, sir?
No. You've been warned by the police, and
I have not.
Please go away, and took that camera off.
But
I do not want to be filmed by you or recorded by you.
But you're in a public place, sir. You're promoting a religion in a public place.
I do not have to be filmed. You have to have my permission to film me. I do not wish... Goodbye.
I wanted to ask you about Hebrews chapter 1, verse 8.
You can look on the website.
It says, God is your throne. But no other... But the Greek doesn't read that way, sir. Can I give you the Greek? It actually comes from Johannes Grieber's Bible, a spiritist. A spiritist who contacted spirits in seances. Oh dear. Oh dear. He's not calling the police before I've even arrived, is he?
No, his phone happened to go off just as...
I thought, my goodness me, if he's calling the police before I even arrive, that's a little bit harsh, even for the Plymouth Jehovah's Witnesses. Peter, I was looking this morning, I've got a New Testament, 8 volumes of the New Testament in one book, one very thick book. It's 3,000 pages. King James, NIV, New Living Translation, ESV, Jerusalem, I can't remember all the versions, there's 8 of them. All of them read differently to the New World Translation at Hebrews chapter 1 verse 8. Thy throne, O God, is forever and ever. That's God the Father speaking to the Son, and he addresses the Son, he says, Thy throne, O God, he calls the Son God, is forever and ever. Yeah. Now the New World Translation says God is your throne. And I can't find any other translations apart from the New World Translation which reads that way. How do you explain that? You don't have any Greek or Hebrew scholars in your society, and there's no educated people with doctorates in Greek or Hebrew. You've never had one in 140 years. So why does it read differently to all the other Bibles and say, God is your throne? God's not a throne. Jesus isn't a piece of wood, a chair made of wood or metal. The Father's addressing the Son at Hebrews chapter 1 verse 8, and he says, Thy throne, O God, is forever. The Son is God. I interrupted you, sorry,
no,
Peter.
Well, off the top of my head, I wouldn't be able to say, and I'd have to. I always research things when you bring things up.
Yeah.
But you know my response.
Hebrews,
it's the same as
Hebrews chapter 1.
I
might have more luck with this man. He looks extremely enthusiastic. One of Brother Flodine's more enthusiastic elders. He's an elder?
Steve is an elder.
Yeah, he's an elder. What's his name?
Steve.
Steve.
Yeah, but
I'll have a word with him.
My response is the same as everyone.
I'll tell you why the New World Translation, 1950 edition, to the current revised 2013 edition, all mistranslate that verse, not in accordance with the Greek text. They're following the Bible of Johannes Grieber. Grieber's New Testament was one of the books that was the basis of the New World Translation. And Grieber was a Catholic priest who was defrocked for Spiritism. He got involved with Ouija boards, and he spoke to spirits, and he asked the spirits to translate the Bible for him in these Ouija board sessions. And the spirits happily did so, and they translated the whole of the New Testament. It's the only New Testament translated by spirits using Ouija boards, Johannes Grieber's Bible. And from the 1950s, the mid-50s, for until the mid-70s, a period of over 20 years, the Watchtower approvingly quoted of Johannes Gruber, saying what a great translation it was, what a good work Johannes Gruber's Bible was. They even quoted approvingly in the 1950s of Johannes Gruber's other book, Communication with the Spirit World of God, where he talked about having seances and using Ouija boards and asking the spirits he contracted in the Ouija boards to translate the Bible for him. And the Watchtower approved of that in the 1950s. When I make this into a video, I always put the Watchtower quotes at the end, so you can see I'm not making stuff up. It's original, genuine Watchtower material. I discredit myself if I just Photoshop stuff and invented stuff. Gruber's quoted twice in the Aid book. I can't remember the page numbers, but he's quoted twice in the Aid book. The Aid book. The book, it's a small green book from the 60s, The Word, Who Is He? And he's quoted there on page 5 because Gruber said, or rather the spirits, the demons that Gruber spoke to using these seances, Peter, they said that Jesus wasn't God, he was a God. And that's why Gruber's Bible reads, in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was a God. There's only 3 Bibles that read that way before the New World Translation. Do you know which ones they are?
Not off the top of my head.
Well, Gruber's Bible, written in the 1930s. Then there was another one. If you look at your blue interlinear and you go to, I think it's Appendix 2, it mentions John S. Thompson. And John S. Thompson lived about 100 years before Gruber. He was the Gruber of the 19th century. And he contacted spirits, and the spirits told him, we're going to help you with your Bible translation. He didn't use a Ouija board like Gruber. And his version also says, in the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was a God. So there's 2 Bibles produced by spirits in seances, and they both read a God, and they were both the basis of the New World Translation at John 1:1. There's a 3rd Bible written by a bishop, I forget his name, was it Newcomb? It's mentioned in the Watchtower Blue Interlinear Appendix. And he translated John 1:1 as the other Bibles do, the real Bibles. In the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was a God. The Word was God. Okay? But then when he died, the plates for his book were bought by a Unitarian. And that Unitarian reprinted that Bible with one change at John 1:1. Instead of correctly reading the Word was God, he changed that to the Word was a God. I can't remember the Archbishop's name. It could be Newcomb. It was about 1800, 1810, 1820, somewhere around there. And the Watchtower always quotes the reprinted Bible. Was it Barrington? It was a bishop anyway. But I mean, I'm horrified at this, that the Watchtower makes use of people who've translated the Bible in seances, like Johannes Gruber. Doesn't that shock you? Steve, does it shock you that the Watchtower has made use of spiritists? There was this German spiritist, he was a Catholic priest called Johannes Gruber. He was defrocked for contacting spirits. He used Ouija boards. And he spoke to the spirits he contacted via these Ouija boards. And the spirit said, the Bible's mistranslated, let's translate the New Testament. And so he did that with the help of the spirits he contracted with these Ouija boards. And the spirits, one of the first things they told him was, John 1:1 is mistranslated. It doesn't read the Word was God. These lying demon spirits, they said, you've got to translate it, the Word was a God.
I think you know our answer. We're not going to get involved in conversation with you, Robert.
Is that because you don't care?
No, not at all.
But surely 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 15 says you're going to earnestly contend for the faith, Peter. You're going to zealously and earnestly contend for the faith that was once delivered to the saints, because you've got zeal and passion for Jehovah God. You want to obey Jehovah God. If Gruber's Bible was the basis of the New World Translation and John S. Thompson, now you need to go to the Appendix 2 of the Blue Interlinear, which quotes various Bible translations which mistranslate the Bible as the Word was a God, and you find John S. Thompson is there. He was another spiritist like Johannes Gruber. He used spirits to translate the Bible. I mean, that's appalling that the Watchtower quotes people who were knowing spiritists to back up your translation, which isn't really a translation because you don't have any scholars. You've never had one scholar with a PhD in Greek or a PhD in Hebrew. You've got no Bible experts. You've just got the octopope at Warwick, 8 men, some sort of weird 8-limbed octopope now that Kenneth Cook's been added to the bunch. Why does the Watchtower for 20 years from the mid-50s quote Johannes Gruber approvingly? Steve, why does the Word Who Is He, a book released in the 1960s, on page 5, you look at the footnotes, it quotes Johannes Gruber approvingly? Why does the Aid book twice quote Johannes Gruber? I can't remember the page numbers. I think one could be 1669, but I can't quite remember. It's hard to hold all these facts in my head at the same time.
You know my response, Robert. Exactly the same as you, though.
But if you love Jehovah God, you're going to say, I'm going to separate from Spiritism. I'm going to separate from Bibles that are made by people who contacted spirits. And the contents of those Bibles, such as Hebrews chapter 1 verse 7, Hebrews chapter 1 verse 8, are lies produced by these demon spirits that Johannes Gruber contacted and seanced and put into his Gruber Bible of the 1930s, which was the basis of the New World Translation. The only two Bibles which misread God is your throne is the New World Translation and the Gruber Bible at Hebrews chapter 1 verse 8. It's simply a mistranslation, and I do feel, Steve, that yourself and Peter, if you love God and you honor God and you serve God, you love Jehovah with all your heart, your mind, your soul and strength, you're passionate to serve Jehovah God. You're going to do the will of Jehovah God, and you're going to say, I'm going to separate myself and my family from anything to do with spiritism and occultism. Wouldn't you want to do that, Steve?
The response is the same, Robert. You're welcome to your opinion, but I'm not going to get involved.
Would you check up? I've got the Gruber Bible, and I've got Gruber's book, Communication with the Spirit Word of God, which in the mid-50s was written of approvingly by the Watchtower Society, because they said that Gruber was contacting good spirits. They didn't mention Ouija boards, but if you actually read Gruber's other book, Communication with the Spirit Word of God, he talks about seances, and then they brought a Ouija board in, and they said, well, the Ouija board's going to make the Bible translation a lot quicker, because the spirits can tell us how to translate passages, and that's what the spirits did. John 1:1, the demon spirit said the word is a God, a lie which John S. Thompson said 100 years before when he contacted spirits, not through Ouija boards. He contacted spirits 100 years before Gruber.
Well,
what kind of organization? I mean, if the Baptists or the Catholics were using Ouija boards in their Bible translation, you'd rightly say apostates, bunch of apostates, people who don't love Jehovah God, hypocrites. All they care about is their church denominational system. And you'd be right. You'd be absolutely right. And I don't just speak to Jehovah's Witnesses, I speak to many other religious people. And the attitude they have is the same as you. We just don't want to get involved. We believe in our little religious faith. We don't want to question anything. We don't want to challenge anything. Don't trouble us with facts, because we don't care about facts. We've got our building, we've got our pastor, or if they're Catholic, they've got the Pope. If they're an evangelical, they've got some TV preacher or some famous preacher or the preacher of their church, and they just have blind faith in that person. And what I'm saying to you is, have faith in Jehovah God. Jehovah is...
Robert, you've had your say. You've been here long enough. If you're not going to go, then we'll go.
No, I don't want to make you move. All right, well, thank you for your time, Peter. But please think about what I'm saying. I am going. If Jehovah's Witnesses really are of Jehovah God, if your organization really is Jehovah God, why are you quoting from a spiritist like Johannes Gruber for 20 years? And I'll sit down with you, I'll buy you a cup of coffee if you want, and Steve as well. I'll buy you a tea and a coffee, and I can show you Johannes Gruber's New Testament and his book Communication with the Spirit Word of God. I've got the 1950 New World Translation Greek. I've got the whole 1961 New World Translation Bible. I've got the 1970, I've got ones from the 1980s, I've got the 2013 revision. And we can sit down and look at all of them. And I can show you that bits in the New World Translation come from Gruber's Bible, from the spirits he contacted in seances. And if you love Jehovah God, And if you love Jehovah God, Steve, you will stand like a real man and you'll say, I will have nothing to do with Spiritism. Because real men don't just point out error in other religious denominations, real men point out error in their own denominations. And I've done that. My background is evangelicalism, and I pointed out sin and hypocrisy in evangelicalism, and you've got to do the same, sir. Stand for biblical truth. I beg you. Stand for Jehovah God.
Bye, Robert.
All right, bye, Steve.
Yeah, bye.
Bye. Hello, sir. Pleased to meet you. How are you?
You've met us before,
Yeah, we have
and
met
we've
you.
asked you not to bother.
I know,
before.
because you can't answer any of my questions about the Watchtower Society. I know it better than you do.
I
I
don't
know
want
the
to
history
engage
better
in
than
your
you do.
conversation.
Yeah, we don't
so
want to make any comments.
thank you for your interest, but I don't give permission to be recorded. I consider what you're doing harassment. I'd prefer it if you just leave us.
Kind of embarrassing. 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 15. Jehovah God tells you to give to everyone who asks of you an answer for the hope that you have in you. I guess you have no hope in you.
We don't argue with people, we try and help.
Right,
We're
could you
looking
help me
for
with Hebrews chapter 1 verse 8?
Sincere people, but
Yeah.
you're not
We know that
sincere.
you're not sincere, I'm sorry, Robert.
I'm sorry, but it's just not.
What's not sincere about me? I know the Bible too well, I've read it too many times.
I think if you're genuinely sincere, you wouldn't be recording all these conversations.
Well, I'm recording it for my own protection, because if you report me to
okay.
the police and this goes to court, then I can show in court that I haven't called you sir, ma'am, I'm polite, and I'm simply asking you questions about your religion, which you can't answer, because Jehovah's Witnesses, around the world, you're being filmed at your carts by people who are putting the videos on YouTube, and they're demonstrating that you simply don't know your Bible, you don't know Watchtower history.
We're just cautious about who we talk to because people are also not
Sorry?
very kind to us. But we don't want to talk about it anymore.
Our friends have spoken to you lots
They
of
haven't.
times.
They haven't. They always avoid talking to me. They
But
say
do
we won't
now,
talk to you.
because now they realise what's actually
So,
going on.
and we know that
really-
prior to you approaching us on the carts, people have spoken to you one-to-one. So, I'm sorry,
But they
we
didn't
don't
have
want
any
to waste
answers
any.
for my Bible
Well, I'm
questions.
sorry it didn't
Your
satisfy
time and
you,
our
but
time,
You've got
but-
choice, you know, if you wanted
Yeah.
to go out.
Well, you're in the middle of the street. You're peddling your religion in the middle of the street. I have a perfect right to
Absolutely,
approach you and
but
to
we
ask
don't
you
And
have
we have a
questions.
We don't have
perfect
to
right not
answer
to
you,
talk
though,
to
do
you.
Of course
So,
you do, sir. Of
thank
course you do.
And
Um,
My,
that's
I will then
all we're
explain
gonna
to
say
the
today.
camera. I'll explain to the camera. Hebrews chapter 1 verse 8 is the verse that concerns me. Okay. I looked at many Bible versions. I've got a book with 8 New Testament Bibles: King James, NIV, Living, New English Bible, Revised Standard, Phillips, and another one. And all of these 8 Bibles, they said exactly the same thing at Hebrews chapter 1 verse 8. The Father, God the Father, is speaking to the Son, and he says, your throne, O God, is forever and ever. Or in the King James, thy throne, O God, is forever and ever. So the Father addresses the Son and calls him God. But there's 2 Bibles that disagree with that. Johannes Grieber's Bible and the New World Translation. And they both read, God is your throne. Not that the Son is God, but the Son is a throne. Do you have any comment on that? No? Are you aware that Johannes Grieber was the basis of the New World Translation in 1950? It's where you got a God from in John 1:1. And here at Hebrews 1:8, God is your throne. That's how Grieber and the New World Translation reads it, Hebrews chapter 1 verse 8, because the New World Translation Committee, none of whom spoke any Hebrew whatsoever, and only a man called George, I think it was called George Ganges. He was a Greek man. I'm not pronouncing his name correctly. He was the only one who had some knowledge of Greek. Fred Franz in court at the Douglas Walsh trial in Scotland, he was asked how many languages he spoke, and Fred Franz said 6. Fred Franz became president in 1977 until his death in the early 1990s. And then he was handed some Greek letters and asked to translate them, and he couldn't identify letters of the Greek alphabet. So the translation committee were ignorant, uneducated men. And they followed Johannes Grieber's Bible at John 1:1. Johannes Grieber was a Catholic priest who took up Spiritism. He used Ouija boards to contact spirits. And the spirit said, we'll translate the Bible for you. And so Johannes Grieber's Bible...
Just leave us alone, because I don't really want to hear it. Sorry, Robert, but we're not interested in what you have to say.
You're not interested in Johannes Grieber's Bible?
In the truth, but not what you have to say.
But Johannes Grieber's Bible,
I don't
can I show it to you?
No, thank you. Please leave us alone.
I'll just finish my point. Johannes Grieber's Bible was the basis of the New World Translation. And Johannes Grieber used spirits to translate the Bible for him. He used Ouija boards, and the Ouija boards moved, and they would translate the entire New Testament for him. Now, I have Johannes Grieber's New Testament, and I have a copy of Johannes Grieber's book, Communication with the Spirit World of God.
I'm not interested in that thing.
The Watchtower quoted Johannes Grieber many times. From the 1950s onward, he appears in the Watchtower. For instance, the Aid to Bible Understanding twice quotes Johannes Grieber. The book, The Word Who Is He, on page 5 quotes Johannes Grieber approvingly. The Aid book twice quotes Johannes Grieber approvingly. This man who used spirits using a Ouija board to translate the Bible for him. But if you love Jehovah God, sir, you want to keep away from Spiritism, don't you? You want to keep away from Spiritism, Ma'am. The Jehovah's Witnesses made use of the Spiritist Bible of Johannes Grieber. That's why they refer to him in a book called The Word Who Is He, on page 5. Would you look that book up for me, sir? You must have that book in your Kingdom Hall library. The Word Who Is He. It's a small green book. It was released in the 1960s. Look it up. Look on page 5, and it quotes Johannes Grieber approvingly. This man who used a Ouija board to translate the Bible. And the spirits who moved the Ouija board, they said that at John 1:1 it's mistranslated. It should read a God. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was a God. That's how Johannes Grieber's Bible reads. And the New World Translation Committee copied that into the New World Translation when they released the New World Greek Scriptures in 1950. And another verse, which they mistranslated, which the demons who Johannes Grieber contacted through the Ouija boards, was Hebrews chapter 1 verse 8. It should read, the Father is speaking to the Son, thy throne, O God, is forever and ever, because the Son is God. He's fully, completely, eternally, fully Yahweh God. And the Son is called God at Hebrews chapter 1 verse 8. But Johannes Grieber, in his New Testament, and that went into the New World Translation in 1950, the demon spirits who used the Ouija board to translate for Johannes Grieber, they mistranslate it as God is your throne, and the Son is not a throne. The Son is not a chair made of wood or made of metal. He's eternally, completely Yahweh God. You seem puzzled, sir. Any comment?
I'm surprised you've got a copy of his book if it was written by spirits, but that's your choice.
Well, I have it, so I can show Jehovah's Witness that I'm not lying. I'm saying the truth.
Robert, so
Sorry?
We're not interested in looking or listening to it, so could you please leave us? Oh, wait a minute.
All right, well, I do pray that you might look at the book, The Word Who Is He, on page 5, and see that Johannes Grieber is quoted in that book. Would you do that for me, sir, please? No? I'm asking you to research your own religion.
You've made your point. Thank you, but please, we've
All
asked you to
right.
leave.
Thank you both for your
Leave
time.
us repeatedly.
Thank you, Mum. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye. I'll just film the cart and I'm on my way. Okay, thank you. Bye.